If I disappear tonight, don't let anyone at the Bellmont tell you I went home. That was the message I should have sent my brother. Instead, at 2:17 in the morning, with my back pressed against the cold stairwell wall and my phone dying in my hand, I opened a contact I had never dared to use. VC. No name. No photo. Just two initials that looked too quiet to belong to the most feared man in Manhattan. The Bellmont never felt empty, even after midnight. It breathed through its vents, hummed through its elevators, watched through its gold-framed mirrors and black glass cameras tucked into corners most guests never noticed. I knew that because I was paid to notice everything. 27 years old, night shift coordinator, navy blazer, name tag, sensible shoes, and a smile polished enough to fool rich people into thinking exhaustion was manners. Outside, rain crawled down the lobby windows in silver lines. Inside, the marble floors reflected chandeliers like the whole place was pretending not to have secrets. Emma, floor 31, isn't responding. Marcus from security leaned over the desk, his radio hissing against his shoulder. His face looked pale under the lobby lights. Housekeeping called. I checked the monitor. Camera 31A showed static. 31B was black. 31C had been manually disabled. My stomach tightened. That's the Sterling Suite. Marcus looked toward the elevators, then away too fast. Probably a tech issue. Cameras don't get nervous, Marcus. His mouth opened, but the service elevator chimed before he could answer. A young housekeeper stepped out clutching a laundry bag to her chest. Her eyes found mine, wide and wet. She didn't walk toward the desk. She ran. Please. Her fingers caught my sleeve, trembling hard enough to shake the fabric. Don't send me back up there. I guided her behind the concierge wall before the lobby cameras could catch her face. Breathe. What happened? She shook her head. They were talking about Mr. Cassano. A schedule. A garage. Someone sold it. The name hit the air like the temperature had dropped 10 degrees. Vincent Cassano. The Silent King. 3 months earlier, I had seen him sitting in the private lounge. While a drunk hotel investor humiliated one of my staff, I had stepped between them because no one else would. Vincent had watched without blinking. Later, he left a black card on my desk. For emergencies only. His voice had been low enough that I almost convinced myself I imagined it. Now, above us, an elevator opened on 31. My radio crackled. A man's voice slid through the static. Find the night girl. The housekeeper covered her mouth. I pushed her toward the employee exit. Go to the deli on 49th. Ask for Rosa. Don't stop. What about you? I forced my hand steady around my keycard. I'm going to fix what I can. I didn't. I barely made it to the stairwell before footsteps entered the corridor behind me. My phone showed 3%. I thought of my brother, asleep in Queens, the kind of boy who would borrow a car and come with nothing but love. That was exactly why I couldn't text him. Love would get him hurt. Power might get me out. My thumb found VC. I typed 3 words. Save me, please. The screen dimmed. 1 second. 2. 3. Then the phone lit against my shaking palm. Vincent Cassano, I'm coming. The last thing I saw before my screen went black was his message, and somehow those 2 words made the stairwell feel less like a grave and more like a door. I pressed the dead phone against my chest as footsteps climbed below me, slow and careful, the kind of sound made by men who were not searching in panic because they believed they had already won. The emergency lights painted everything red. My breath kept catching on the dust in the air. Somewhere beneath the concrete walls, Manhattan continued pretending it was awake for normal reasons. Taxis, rain, late dinners, people laughing under awnings with no idea that, 31 floors above the lobby of the Bellmont, I was counting my heartbeat like loose change. 1, 2, 3. Then the radio at my waist crackled. Lobby is sealed. A pause. Static. If she gets downstairs, stop her. My fingers tightened around the railing. Marcus. His voice. The same man who had stood beside me every night for 8 months, drinking burnt coffee and complaining about rent, was helping them. A strange, calm moved through me. Not peace. Something colder. Betrayal had a sound, and tonight it wore a security badge. At the private upper floor of an Italian restaurant in Midtown, Vincent Cassano looked at his phone once and made an entire room forget how to breathe. A half-finished glass of water sat beside his hand. Documents lay open on the table. Men older than him, louder than him, richer in the ways people measured from a distance, waited for him to speak. Vincent did not raise his voice. He did not need to. His gray eyes moved from the black screen to the man standing nearest the door. Bring the cars. The man straightened. How many? Vincent slid one black leather glove off finger by finger, slow enough to make the silence sharpen. Enough to make traffic irrelevant. Across the table, a silver-haired man cleared his throat. Vincent, the port agreement cannot wait. Vincent looked at him. Just looked. The man lowered his eyes to the untouched plate in front of him. It can wait. Vincent placed his napkin beside the glass, adjusted the silver watch at his wrist, and walked out before anyone else decided to confuse business with priority. Outside, rain struck the awning in hard, bright bursts. 3 black SUVs pulled to the curb as if Manhattan itself had moved them into place. His men did not crowd him. They formed around him. A driver opened the rear door. Vincent paused with one hand on the frame and turned to Luca, the youngest of the guards. Call the Bellmont. Do not use the front desk. Luca touched his earpiece. If they refuse access? Vincent's jaw shifted, and the thin scar near it caught the streetlight. They will not. Back in the stairwell, I heard a door open below. A man's shoes scraped against the first step. My throat tightened. I moved upward instead of down, one hand sliding along the wall, every step too loud, every breath too human. At the 32nd floor landing, the handle would not turn. Locked. Of course it was locked. The next footstep below echoed closer. I pulled off my name tag and wedged its metal pin into the latch with fingers that would not stop shaking. Come on, I breathed. Please, please, come on. The latch clicked. I slipped through and caught myself before the door slammed. The hallway beyond was dim, expensive, and wrong. No housekeeping carts. No music from the penthouse lounge. Just the soft hum of disabled cameras and the smell of rain drifting from somewhere it should not have been able to reach. The service elevator at the far end lit up. Going up, my knees nearly gave out. Then, from the other end of the hallway, the private elevator chimed once. Its doors opened without a sound. Vincent Cassano stepped out in a black suit, rain still shining on his shoulders, his eyes finding me like he had known exactly where fear would leave me. Behind him, 3 men spread into the corridor. The service elevator doors opened too. Vincent did not look away from me. His hand lifted slightly, palm down, steadying the air between us. Come here, Emma. My body moved before my fear could argue. I crossed the hallway on shaking legs, and when I reached him, he took off his coat and placed it around my shoulders without touching my skin. His gaze shifted past me. The men from the service elevator stopped. Vincent's voice dropped so low it barely belonged to the hallway. You were looking for her. No one answered. Vincent's ring caught the light as his hand lowered to his side. You found me instead. For one suspended second, the corridor forgot how to move. The men by the service elevator froze with their hands half raised, their faces caught between confidence and regret. Vincent stood in front of me, not close enough to trap me, only close enough to make the space behind his shoulder feel like the safest place in Manhattan. His coat smelled like rain, cedar, and cold night air. I clutched it around myself with both hands, hating how badly I was shaking. The tallest man near the elevator looked past Vincent toward me. She heard something that does not belong to her. Vincent's eyes did not blink. Then you should have spoken more carefully. One of Vincent's guards stepped forward, but Vincent lifted 2 fingers. The guard stopped at once. That was the first thing I understood about his power. It did not rush. It waited. It made other people make mistakes first. The hallway lights flickered. Somewhere below us, an alarm began to pulse softly, not loud enough for guests to panic, just enough to make my nerves scrape against each other. Vincent turned his head slightly, his profile sharp under the brass wall sconce. Walk with Luca. A broad-shouldered man with kind eyes moved beside me. This way, Miss Emma. I did not move. My gaze caught on the men by the elevator, on Marcus standing behind them with his radio still clipped to his shoulder. My stomach turned. He was helping them. Marcus swallowed. Emma, you do not understand what this is. My voice came out thin, but it did not break. I understand you looked me in the eye every night and still chose them. Vincent's attention shifted to Marcus, and the air changed so quickly I felt it on my skin. Marcus took one step back. Mr. Cassano, I can explain. Vincent adjusted the cuff of his shirt with unbearable calm. Later. One word. No thread inside it. That made it worse. Luca guided me through a staff passage I had used 100 times, but tonight it felt unfamiliar, as if the hotel had rearranged itself to hide what it had done. We passed a linen closet, a locked service pantry, a security camera hanging dead in its corner. Vincent walked behind us, never touching me, never hurrying me, while his men sealed the hall with quiet efficiency. At the private elevator, I stopped. The polished doors reflected my face back at me. Pale. Damp hair stuck to my cheeks. Mascara smudged under one eye. I looked like a stranger wearing a hotel name tag. Vincent noticed the direction of my stare. His hand hovered near the elevator panel, then lowered before pressing anything. You are not getting into a closed space unless you choose to. I looked at him then. Really looked. The scar near his jaw, the rain on his lashes, the gray of his eyes, colder than the mirrors, but not empty. I should have been afraid of how close he stood. Instead, I was afraid of how safe it felt. Why did you come? His jaw tightened almost invisibly. You used the number. That is not an answer. For the first time, something close to surprise moved across his face. Small. Gone quickly. It is the only one I have. I should have been terrified of him. Part of me was. Every story whispered in staff rooms. Every warning about the Cassano name. Every guest who lowered their voice when his men crossed the lobby. But the other part of me remembered the housekeeper crying into my sleeve. I pulled his coat tighter. The girl from housekeeping. Did she get out? Luca checked his phone, then gave Vincent a nod. Vincent's gaze stayed on mine. She is safe. My knees softened so fast I grabbed the wall. Vincent moved half a step, then stopped himself like restraint was something he had to practice with his whole body. Emma. I pressed my palm flat against the wallpaper, breathing through the wave of relief. I was just trying to help her. His voice dropped, not gentle exactly, but lower than before. That is why they came for you. The elevator opened behind him. Warm light spilled across the carpet. I stared into it, then back at the hallway where I had almost been caught. And if I go with you? Vincent held my gaze for a long, silent beat. Then tonight, no one decides your life but you. I stepped into the elevator. Vincent remained outside until I turned and gave the smallest nod. Only then did he enter, standing near the doors instead of beside me. As they closed, Marcus's reflection vanished from the brass. My breath finally broke. Vincent looked straight ahead, one hand resting beside the panel, his ring glinting under the light. When we reach the safe floor, you will tell me everything you heard. I swallowed. And if I do not remember all of it? His eyes met mine in the reflection. Then start with what scared you most. The safe floor did not exist on any guest map of the Bellmont. The elevator passed the penthouse, paused between numbers, then opened into a corridor so quiet it made the rest of the hotel feel like a lie. No music, no guests, no gold-framed mirrors, just matte black walls, soft white lights, and doors that looked less like rooms than decisions no one could undo. Vincent stepped out first, then waited with one hand near the elevator frame. Not touching it, not blocking me, waiting. That small space he kept giving me felt stranger than fear. Luca moved ahead and opened a room at the end of the hall. Inside, floor-to-ceiling windows looked over Manhattan, rain turning every building into a blurred tower of light. There was a long table, 2 leather chairs, a first aid kit, a pitcher of water, and 3 screens showing camera feeds from parts of the hotel I had never been allowed to see. My shoes made no sound on the carpet. That bothered me more than it should have. Places like this were built to swallow evidence. Vincent noticed me looking at the screens. His expression did not change, but his hand closed once around the back of a chair. No one in this room records you. I wrapped his coat tighter around my shoulders. That sounds like something a man with cameras everywhere would say. Luca went very still. Vincent's mouth did not smile, but something faint shifted in his eyes. Good. Keep questioning me. I stared at him. Most people do not survive doing that, do they? He removed his other glove and placed both on the table, perfectly aligned. Most people question me because they want something. His gaze moved to my shaking hands. You are doing it because you are afraid I might become another locked door. The words landed too close to the truth. I looked away first. On one of the screens, Marcus stood in the lobby with 2 men I did not recognize. The sight made my chest tighten. 8 months of shared night shifts, and I had never once noticed the way he avoided camera blind spots. Vincent followed my stare. Tell me what happened on 31. I sat because my legs were no longer pretending well. The chair felt expensive and cold beneath me. The cameras went out. The Sterling suite was cleared early. A housekeeper came down terrified. Her name is Lena. She heard men talking about you. Vincent's fingers rested near his ring. Still. Controlled. Which men? I closed my eyes, forcing the voices back through the panic. One had an accent. Russian, maybe. The other sounded local. He knew the hotel layout. He mentioned the East Garage under 48th Street. He said your car would leave Midtown after 2:30. Luca's eyes cut to Vincent. Vincent did not move. That stillness frightened me more than anger would have. Anything else? I swallowed. They said someone inside had already changed your route. They said Marcus would keep me busy if I noticed the cameras. My voice cracked on his name. I hated that. Betrayal should have made me sharp. Instead, it made me small. Vincent poured water into a glass and set it near me, not pushing it into my hand. Drink when you choose. The glass trembled when I picked it up. Why would they risk doing this here? In your hotel? His eyes lifted to the rain-dark windows. Manhattan glittered behind him, careless and beautiful. Because people think grief makes a man predictable. The room seemed to narrow. Grief. Luca looked down at the floor, as if the word itself had weight. Vincent turned the ring on his finger once. The silver caught the light, the carved letter dark inside it. When I was 19, someone inside my family sold a route. A car left from the wrong entrance. My sister was inside. No details. No blood. No spectacle. Just one sentence, and suddenly the silence around him had a shape. I forgot to breathe. The man who could make an entire lobby step backward had once been a boy arriving too late. I am sorry. His jaw tightened. Do not be sorry for what you did not break. I looked at the screens again. The Bellmont's lobby. The elevators. The service halls. My whole ordinary life turned into angles and exits. Then let me be angry for what they tried to break tonight. Vincent's eyes found mine, and for the first time since he stepped out of that elevator, the cold in them shifted into something almost human. Anger is useful, Emma, as long as it does not drive. I set the glass down. Then what does? He leaned one hand on the table, not close, but close enough that I saw rainwater still clinging to his cuff. Evidence. Luca placed a tablet in front of me. The paused image showed the Sterling suite hallway at 1:43 in the morning, just before the feed died. Marcus was there, standing beside a woman in a hotel manager's blazer. My manager, Dana Whitcomb. The person who approved my shifts, signed my reviews, smiled at guests while teaching the staff how to disappear. My stomach dropped. Vincent's voice lowered. Do you know her? I stared at Dana's frozen face, at her hand holding a black keycard issued only to executive security. My fingertips went cold. She told me to stay late tonight. Vincent looked from the screen to me. The room did not move, but something inside it locked into place. Then this was never about what you overheard. I forced the next breath into my lungs. They wanted me on that floor. His silence answered before his mouth did. Yes. Outside, thunder rolled over Manhattan, low and distant. On the screen, Dana Whitcomb smiled at a camera she thought had already gone blind. The screen froze on Dana Whitcomb's smile, and something in me went very quiet. Not calm, not brave, just hollow in the place where trust had been 5 minutes before. Dana had hired me 2 years ago with warm hands, pearl earrings, and a voice that made every rule sound like kindness. Dana had sent birthday cupcakes to the night staff. Dana had once driven me home after a snowstorm because the subway was delayed. Now her face glowed on Vincent's tablet, holding a keycard that should never have been in her hand. I pushed the tablet away before I threw it. I need to call Lena. Vincent's eyes moved to Luca. Luca stepped toward the door. She is already under protection. I stood too fast. The room tilted, Manhattan turning to streaks of white and gold beyond the glass. Protection by whom? Your men? People with guns under their jackets and no last names. Luca looked to Vincent, but Vincent only watched me. That made me angrier. His silence felt like a wall I was supposed to thank him for. She is a housekeeper. She is 22. She has a mother in New Jersey and a little sister who thinks she works in a palace. She does not need to vanish because rich men and dangerous men decided the same hallway belonged to them. Vincent's hand rested flat on the table, the ring with the carved letter M pressed against the black surface. No one is vanishing her. You do not get to use words like that and expect me to relax. His gaze sharpened. What words? I laughed once, but there was no humor in it. Safe floor. Protection. Routes. Access. You talk like. People are doors and keys. The room seemed to inhale around us. Lucas suddenly became fascinated by the security monitors. Vincent stepped back from the table, giving me more space instead of taking it. I talk like a man who has buried the result of being too late. The sentence should have softened me. It almost did. Then I remembered the dead cameras, Marcus's voice, Dana's smile, Lena's hands twisting my sleeve. And I am sorry for that. I really am. But your grief does not get to become a cage around my life. Vincent's jaw tightened. Not anger. Control holding anger by the throat. They plan to use you. Then let me help prove it. No, the word landed clean. Final. My spine straightened before my fear could stop it. Excuse me. Vincent moved to the window, the city burning behind his shoulders. By sunrise, you will be outside Manhattan. A house in Westchester. Private security. New phone. No public records for a few days. My hands curled around the edge of the chair. You planned all that while I was sitting here. His reflection looked at me from the rain-dark glass. Yes. Without asking me. He turned. You were shaking. I am still a person when I shake. That reached him. I saw it in the small pause before his next breath. The great Vincent Cassano, the silent king, ruler of rooms that went silent when he entered, had no immediate command for a woman who refused to be saved like luggage. I took his coat off my shoulders and laid it across the chair between us. The fabric fell heavy, expensive, warm from my fear. You saved me tonight. I will not pretend that means nothing. But do not mistake gratitude for ownership. Luca's phone vibrated. He glanced down, then went still. Vincent noticed without turning his head. What is it? Luca's eyes flicked to me before returning to his boss. Dana just checked out of the hotel system. She used Miss Emma's employee credentials. My blood went cold in a new way. She can access my address. Luca's silence answered. Vincent crossed the room in 3 steps, but stopped before he reached me, hands open at his sides. Careful now. Too careful. Emma, listen to me. I stepped back. My brother is at that address. Vincent's face changed. The cold vanished, replaced by something darker, older, and painfully controlled. Luca, send 2 cars to Queens. Quietly. No uniforms. No lights. My throat closed. Do not scare him. Vincent's eyes locked on mine, steady as stone under rain. Then tell me his name. Noah. Vincent nodded once, and somehow that single movement felt like a promise signed in silence. Noah will not see us unless he needs to. I wanted to hate how much relief hit me. I wanted to stay angry because anger was the only thing keeping me upright. But my knees trembled again, and this time Vincent did not move toward me. He waited. Let the choice belong to me. I picked up his coat and pulled it around my shoulders. Not surrender. Not trust. Not yet. Just warmth. I am not leaving Manhattan until Lena is safe and Dana is caught. Vincent looked at me for a long moment, rainlight sliding over the scar near his jaw. Then he reached for the tablet and turned it toward us both. Then we do it your way first. Vincent turned the tablet toward me, and for the first time that night, the room stopped feeling like a place where decisions were made about me and started feeling like a place where I might survive long enough to make one myself. The screen showed the Bellmont's internal map, every floor reduced to lines, doors, cameras, elevators, and service routes. My entire workplace looked less like a hotel and more like a nervous system someone had learned how to poison. Dana's last login pulsed red near the executive office. Marcus's badge appeared near the loading dock. Lena's name, thank God, was marked off-site at a safe location in Brooklyn. My brother's apartment in Queens was not on the map, but I could feel it anyway. A small, ordinary room with a thrift store couch, a cracked coffee table, and Noah sleeping through the worst night of my life because I had not told him to wake up. Lucas stood by the door with one hand pressed to his earpiece. First car reached Queens. No movement outside the building. No contact with Noah. My hand gripped the edge of the table until my knuckles went pale. He cannot know unless he has to. Vincent's eyes moved from the screen to me. Then he will not. It should have sounded impossible. Coming from him, it sounded like infrastructure. Like side streets cleared before anyone saw the cars. Like bridges avoided before traffic could become a problem. Like Manhattan and Queens quietly bending around a single command. That was what scared me. Not that Vincent Cassano had power. That he knew exactly how to use it without looking impressed by himself. On the screen, Dana's red marker moved. Executive office to private elevator. Private elevator to basement level. Basement level to service garage. My stomach dropped. She is leaving. Luca's fingers moved fast across his phone. East garage is sealed. Vincent leaned over the tablet, rain drying in dark patches along his sleeves. Not for her. He tapped a gray corridor I had never noticed in 2 years of working there. Old catering tunnel. Built before the renovation. It exits behind the florist on 47th. I stared at the hidden line. How does Dana even know that exists? Luca's jaw tightened. Before she became general manager, she handled executive security logistics, private arrivals, service routes, blind spots, emergency access. The words slid through me like ice. All those staff meetings about guest safety. All those reminders about procedure. Dana had not been protecting the hotel. She had been memorizing its bones. Vincent's gaze stayed on the map. She knows the doors. I know why they were built. I looked at him. And why do you know that? His eyes did not leave the screen. I bought the building after a man tried to hide something in it. That was the Vincent people whispered about. Not loud. Not dramatic. Terrifying because he remembered every door. My radio crackled on the table where Luca had placed it. Static, then Dana's voice, smooth as hotel silk. Emma, sweetheart, if you can't hear me, come down to the lobby. This has been a misunderstanding. My skin went cold. Sweetheart. She used that word when someone cried in the staff bathroom, when she denied vacation requests, when she made cruelty sound like mentorship. Vincent looked at me, not at the radio, at me, waiting. I picked it up slowly. My thumb hovered over the button. You taught me never to leave a guest unattended in crisis, Dana. Silence. Then a soft breath through the speaker. You are frightened. That is understandable. I looked at Vincent's tablet, at her red dot moving toward the tunnel. No, I was frightened 20 minutes ago. Now I am paying attention. Luca's mouth almost curved. Vincent's expression did not change, but his eyes sharpened with something that felt dangerously close to approval. Dana's voice thinned. You have no idea what kind of man you are standing beside. My gaze lifted to Vincent. The black suit, the silver watch, the ring with the carved letter M, the scar near his jaw, the restraint in his hands. The distance he kept because I had demanded it. I know enough. The radio hissed. Then you know he ruins everything he touches. Vincent went still. Not frozen. Not shaken. Still, the way a locked room is still. Something old passed behind his eyes before he buried it. I understood then that Dana had not only betrayed his business. She knew where to press until the ghost inside him opened its eyes. I lowered the radio. Do not listen to her. His gaze slid to mine. I am not the one she is trying to convince. The answer hit harder than comfort would have. He was right. Dana wanted me to doubt the only person dangerous enough to reach her before she disappeared. She wanted me scared of the coat around my shoulders, the men at the door, the name everyone lowered their voice to say. I raised the radio again. Dana, if you wanted me to fear him, you should not have made everyone else look worse. For the first time, her calm cracked. You stupid girl. Vincent's hand closed around the back of the chair, but he did not take the radio from me. He let me keep the room. Let me keep my voice. I looked at the tablet. Dana's marker had paused near the florist exit. She stopped. Luca's head tilted. Because she heard movement outside. Vincent touched his earpiece for the first time. No sirens. No spectacle. Keep the street open. Let her see every exit and trust none of them. Outside the windows, far below, Manhattan glowed through rain as if nothing had changed. But I knew. Better now. Somewhere under the city, cars were sliding into place. Doors were locking without a sound. A woman who thought she could turn me into bait had just discovered she was standing inside a map Vincent had memorized years ago. My hands finally stopped shaking. Vincent noticed. His voice dropped, meant only for me. Still want to do this your way? I kept my eyes on Dana's red dot, no longer running, no longer certain. Yes. His ring tapped once against the table. Then tell me where she feels safest. I thought of Dana's office. Her pearl earrings. Her perfect smile. The way she always stood near exits during staff meetings. The way she kept fresh flowers at the concierge desk because guests trusted beauty. My breath caught. The florist. Vincent's eyes lifted. Why? I pointed to the old tunnel exit on 47th. Because she chose it before tonight. The florist on 47th was called Maribel's, a narrow little shop wedged between a closed tailor and a 24-hour pharmacy, The kind of place guests at the Bellmont used when apologies needed to look expensive. I knew it because Dana ordered white lilies from there every Monday, always with the same instruction. No thorns, no strong scent, nothing that stains. At the time, I thought she was particular. Now, standing on the safe floor with Vincent's coat heavy around my shoulders and his tablet glowing between us, I understood she had been rehearsing escape routes inside Beautiful Habits. Vincent studied the map for 3 seconds. She will not enter the shop from the street. I pointed at the thin gray line behind it. There is a back room. I picked up arrangements there once when the delivery driver got sick. The owner keeps a side door near the alley. Luca's fingers moved over his phone. 2 cars can reach 47th in 4 minutes. Vincent did not look away from the screen. Make it 3. Quiet approach. No one enters until we confirm civilians are clear. The word civilians surprised me. It should not have. Maybe that was the problem with fear. It made you forget dangerous men could still know the difference between a target and a bystander. My radio crackled again. Dana's voice returned, softer now, almost affectionate. Emma, I know you were listening. You always were the responsible one. My thumb tightened around the radio. Vincent's eyes flicked to my hand, then back to my face. Waiting. Always waiting now, even when every second mattered. I lifted it slowly. Responsible people do not use other people's badges to run away. A quiet laugh slid through the speaker. Run away? Sweetheart, I am cleaning up a mess you created by being in places you were never meant to be. Something inside me burned. Not hot. Clear. You scheduled me for that floor. And you should have followed procedure. I looked at Lena's safe marker on the screen, then at Dana's red, hovering near the florist exit. Procedure would have sent Lena back upstairs. Silence. For the first time, Dana had no polished answer ready. Vincent leaned closer to the map, his shoulder near mine, but not touching. His voice was low enough that only I could hear it. Keep her talking if you can. Stop if you want. That choice, small as it was, steadied me more than his coat. I pressed the button again. Who paid you, Dana? Static filled the room. Luca looked up sharply. Vincent's face remained unreadable, but his ring stopped turning. Dana breathed through the radio, slow and controlled. You think this is about money? I think people like you call it survival when you sell someone else. The red marker moved. Not toward the street. Back into the tunnel. Luca straightened. She is retreating. Vincent's eyes narrowed. No. She heard the cars. Then the monitors flickered. One screen went black. Another filled with static. The hotel map blinked twice, and Dana's marker disappeared. My pulse jumped into my throat. Where did she go? Luca's jaw tightened. She killed the internal feed. Vincent turned toward the door. She had help. The safe floor lights dimmed for half a second. That was all. Half a second. Long enough for the room to change. Luca moved in front of me. Vincent's hand slipped beneath his jacket, then stopped when his eyes found mine. He did not draw anything. He did not need to. His whole body had become warning. A sound came from the hallway. Not an alarm. Not a shout. A soft electronic click. The kind hotel doors make when they unlock for the wrong person. Luca touched his earpiece. North access just opened. Vincent's voice went flat. No one was cleared for north access. My mouth went dry. The safe floor did not feel safe anymore. Vincent stepped toward me, then caught himself again, leaving one clean foot of space between us. Emma, behind me. I hated that my first instinct was to obey. I hated more that it might keep me alive. The door at the far end of the room opened. A man in a Bellmont maintenance jacket stood there holding a master keycard. His eyes went straight to me. Not Vincent. Not Luca. Me. Miss Bennett. Dana wants you downstairs. My skin crawled at the sound of my last name from a stranger's mouth. Vincent's voice cut the air, quiet and cold. Dana does not give instructions here. The man's hand trembled around the keycard. He looked young. Too young for the fear in his face. She has my sister. Everything stopped. Even Vincent. The sentence cracked the room open in a different way. This was not loyalty. This was leverage. I saw it before anyone explained it. Saw the same terror Lena had worn. Saw how people like Dana did not just buy betrayal. They manufactured it. I stepped out from behind Luca before Vincent could stop me. What is your sister's name? The young man blinked fast. Maya. Where is she? His eyes flashed toward the hallway camera, dead and black. Pier 88. She told me if I got you to the service elevator, she would let Maya go. Vincent's expression changed so subtly most people would have missed it. I did not. The ghost of his sister moved through the room. Not as memory now, as command. Luca whispered into his earpiece. Vincent kept his gaze on the young man. You are going to put the key card on the floor and step inside slowly. The man obeyed with shaking hands. I looked at Vincent. Dana never went to the florist to escape. His eyes met mine, dark with understanding. She went there to make us look away. My stomach sank as the truth arranged itself with horrible precision. Dana had used the florist, the tunnels, the dead cameras, all of it as a curtain. The real move was already happening near the water. Pier 88. A place big enough to hide cars, people, secrets. A place connected to Vincent's old routes and his worst memories. The young man's voice broke. Please. I did not want to hurt anyone. Vincent looked at me first, as if checking whether the room still belonged partly to my choice. Then his attention returned to the door. No one else gets used tonight. He reached for his coat on my shoulders, paused, and instead adjusted the collar without touching me. Stay here with Luca. I shook my head before fear could vote. No, his eyes hardened. Emma. Dana wants me because I can identify her. She wants Maya because she can control him. She wants you angry because angry men rush. I swallowed, my throat dry as paper. You told me anger does not drive. For a second, the whole city seemed to press against the windows behind him. Vincent Cassano, who ruled Manhattan by making other people lower their voices, looked at me like I had taken one of his own rules and handed it back sharpened. Then what does? I picked up my dead phone from the table and closed my fingers around it. Evidence. Timing. And not letting her choose the only version of me she understands. Luca's phone buzzed. His face went pale. We just got a backup clip from a dock camera near Pier 88. It was corrupted, but 6 seconds survived. He turned the screen toward us. The image was grainy, rain-streaked, almost useless. But I saw enough. Dana standing beside a Blacktown car. A young woman with her hands bound in front of her, frightened but upright. And in Dana's other hand, my employee badge. Vincent's voice became almost soundless. Bring the cars. I stepped beside him, still shaking, no longer hiding it. All of them. His eyes stayed on the screen, gray as stormwater over steel. No. Then he looked at me. Only the ones quiet enough to arrive before she knows we are coming. The ride to Pier 88 took less than 12 minutes, but fear stretched every block until Manhattan felt endless. I sat in the back of the second SUV with Vincent beside the opposite door, not touching me, not crowding me. One hand resting near his knee and the other holding a phone that kept lighting up with silent updates. Rain washed the windows into streaks of neon. Delis, theaters, sleeping office towers, yellow cabs sliding through puddles like they were part of another life. My life had been name tags, staff schedules, late subway rides, and coffee too bitter to fix with sugar. Now 3 black vehicles moved through side streets without sirens, taking narrow turns, service lanes, and quiet blocks the driver seemed to know by memory. They did not own the city. They knew where it breathed when no one was watching. Luca's voice came through the speaker near the dashboard. Pier Access Road is clear. No police presence. No visible crowd. Vincent's thumb tapped once against the phone. Civilians. 2 dock workers moved off-site. Our people are holding the south gate. I stared at his profile in the dim light. Your people move fast. His eyes stayed on the rain ahead. Fear moves faster when it knows where to go. That sounded like something cruel until I realized he was talking about himself. I looked down at my hands. They had stopped shaking for almost a minute. Then I remembered Dana holding my badge, Maya standing beside that car, and the tremor returned. Vincent noticed without turning. Of course he did. You do not have to step out when we arrive. I almost laughed. It came out as a breath. You brought me because I was right. I brought you because you refused to be left behind. That is not the same thing. His gaze shifted to mine, gray in the passing street lights. No, it is not. No argument. No command. Just acknowledgement. And somehow that unsettled me more than being ordered would have. Pier 88 appeared through the rain as a long strip of wet concrete, chain-link fencing, parked freight trucks, and warehouse lights bleeding yellow into the dark. The Hudson looked black beyond it, restless under the storm. Our SUV stopped behind an empty tour bus. No doors opened at first. Everyone waited. Vincent listened to his earpiece, his face unreadable. Then he looked at me. Stay behind Luca until I tell you otherwise. I met his stare. Until it makes sense. Otherwise. The corner of Luca's mouth twitched in the front seat. Vincent's did not, but his eyes changed. Fair. We stepped into rain so cold it stole my breath. Vincent's coat still hung around my shoulders, too large, too heavy, making me look like a child pretending to be brave inside someone else's armor. Ahead, Dana stood beneath a loading canopy beside a Blacktown car. Her pearl earrings glowed faintly under the industrial lights. Even here, with rain blowing sideways and fear tightening every face, she looked perfectly arranged. Maya stood several feet from her, pale and rigid, wrists held together in front of her with a soft cloth tie, frightened but unharmed. Relief hit me first, then rage. Dana lifted my employee badge between two fingers. Emma Bennett. Always early. Always polite. Always where she is told to be. I stepped forward before Luca's arm could rise. You should have learned to schedule better. Dana's smile thinned. Her eyes moved to Vincent. You let hotel staff speak for you now. Vincent did not look at her. He looked at Maya. Walked toward Luca. Dana's hand rose slightly, not violent, just enough to remind everyone she still believed she controlled the moment. No one moves until I am in that car. Vincent's voice stayed low. You are standing on my pier, using my employee's badge, threatening a girl whose brother you blackmailed, after selling my route to men who already left you behind. Dana blinked. One tiny break in the polished surface. I saw it. So did Vincent. I held up the radio Luca had given me in the car. They did not answer your last call, did they? Rain gathered on Dana's lashes. For the first time, she looked older than her pearls. You know nothing about what I had to do. I took another step, slow, visible, my palms open. I know you made Lena think she was disposable. You made that maintenance kid choose between his sister and a stranger. You made me doubt every kind thing you ever did. My voice shook, but it stayed mine. That is not survival. That is cowardice wearing a blazer. Dana's eyes flashed. Vincent's men moved at the edges of the pier, quiet shadows closing distance without spectacle. Dana finally noticed. Her perfect posture faltered. Vincent. She turned his name into a plea, but he did not accept it. His gaze remained on Maya. Walk. Maya's first step was small. Dana looked toward the town car. The driver inside did not move. The rear tires were blocked by two black SUVs she had not seen arrive. Every road had become a wall. Maya took another step. Luca reached her and cut the cloth with a small folding blade, careful and quick, then guided her behind him. No shouting, no chaos, just the soft collapse of Dana Whitcomb's plan under the weight of people she had underestimated. Vincent moved then, not toward Dana, but toward me. He stopped at my side, close enough for his voice to reach only me. You were right about the florist. I watched Dana lower my badge like it had become too heavy. I wish I had been wrong. His eyes moved across my face, not soft exactly, but no longer distant. So do I. Dana laughed once, brittle and empty. You think he will protect you forever, Emma? Men like Vincent Cassano do not protect. They possess. The word should have cut deeper. Maybe they would have an hour ago. I looked at Vincent's hands, open at his sides. At the space he still left between us. At the way he had waited every time I chose. Then I faced Dana. Funny. You were the one who kept taking choices away. Vincent's ring caught the pier light as he lifted one hand. His men stepped in, not roughly, not theatrically, just firmly enough that the night knew the running was over. Dana's eyes locked on mine one last time, and all her practiced warmth was gone. What remained was small, human, terrified. I felt no victory, only exhaustion. Maya sobbed quietly into her brother's shoulder near the gate. Luca gave me a nod. Lena was safe. Noah was safe. Maya was safe. The city was still raining. My knees gave out before I realized I was falling. Vincent caught only the coat, not me, slowing my descent without trapping my body. I ended up sitting on the wet concrete, breath breaking apart, palms pressed to the ground. He crouched in front of me, lowering himself until I did not have to look up at power. Emma. I tried to answer, but all that came out was a shaking breath. His eyes held mine, gray and steady beneath the rain. It is over. I looked past him at the Black River, at the lights of Manhattan trembling on the water. No, my voice barely existed. It is just finally quiet. By dawn, Manhattan had washed itself clean enough to lie again. The rain softened into mist. The Hudson turned from black to steel. The first yellow cabs moved along wet avenues as if the city had not spent the night holding its breath for one woman on a pier. I woke in a private medical suite somewhere inside the Bellmont, though no one called it that. The room had pale walls, quiet machines, fresh towels folded like apologies, and a window facing towers that looked almost innocent in morning light. My clothes were dry. My hands were bandaged where the stairwell railing had cut into my palms. Vincent's coat hung over the chair beside the bed, dark and still, like part of him had stayed even when he had not. For one terrible second, I thought I was alone. Then I saw the shadow beyond the glass door. Vincent stood in the hallway with his back to the wall, arms folded, black suit replaced by a clean one, hair still slightly damp at the edges. He had not come inside. He had not taken the chair. He had not stood over me while I slept. The silent king waited outside my room like a man who had finally learned that a closed door was also an answer. I pressed the call button because my throat hurt too much to shout. A nurse entered first, kind-eyed and efficient, checking my pulse, my pupils, the bandages on my hands. You are going to be sore for a few days, but you are safe. My eyes moved to the hallway. The nurse followed my gaze and lowered her voice. He has been there since 4 a.m. Has he slept? Her mouth softened. Not that I saw. When she left, Vincent did not move until I lifted my hand toward the door. Only then did he step inside. Not far, just past the threshold, as if the room still belonged to me before it belonged to his protection. Morning light caught the scar near his jaw and made it look less like a warning, more like proof. I swallowed carefully. Why did you stay outside? His eyes held mine. No performance. No polished answer. Because you did not invite me in. Something in my chest tightened so sharply it almost hurt. I looked away first, because kindness without control was harder to face than danger. Noah. Vincent reached into his jacket and placed a phone on the table beside my bed. Your brother called 3 times. Luca told him there was a hotel emergency and you were resting. He is annoyed, which I am told is a healthy sign. A laugh escaped me, small and cracked. It hurt my ribs. It helped my heart. Lena, with her mother in New Jersey. Maya, with her brother. They will both be offered new jobs if they want them. Not for me directly. My eyes narrowed despite the exhaustion. Vincent noticed. Through a legitimate staffing agency. I let my head fall back against the pillow. You learn fast. His gaze dropped briefly to the floor. Only when the lesson is repeated clearly. Silence settled between us. But it was not the same silence that followed him into rooms. This one did not scare people. This one let them breathe. I touched the edge of his coat on the chair. And Dana? Vincent's expression closed. Not cruel. Not satisfied. Just final. She will answer to people who use paperwork instead of whispers. The evidence is already where it needs to be. I looked at him. No spectacle. His gray eyes met mine. No spectacle. For reasons I did not fully understand. That answer mattered more than revenge ever could have. Maybe because I had seen enough people try to turn fear into theater. Maybe because Vincent, who could have made the whole city tremble, had chosen restraint when it counted. He stepped closer by one careful pace. When you leave here, you will have choices. Time off. A different hotel. A transfer. Nothing decided without you. My fingers tightened around the blanket. And if I choose to go back to my old life? A faint shadow moved across his face. Then I will make sure it is still there for you. You make that sound easy. His eyes shifted toward the window, where Manhattan glittered under a thin skin of morning. It is not. Then, quieter, but I have spent years controlling rooms. I can learn to protect a door without owning what is behind it. My throat burned. The man everyone feared had just offered me the one thing no one had given me all night. Space. Not abandonment. Not possession. Space with someone standing close enough to come if called. Maybe love did not always arrive as a confession. Maybe sometimes it waited outside the door until you were ready to open it. I picked up the black card from the bedside table. Someone must have taken it from my dead phone case and placed it there. VC. 2 initials. A number for emergencies only. I turned it between my bandaged fingers. Do I still use this? Vincent's gaze softened by a fraction, so small anyone else would have missed it. Only if you choose to. I looked at the man in the doorway, the city behind him, the coat beside me, the morning finally arriving as if it had earned forgiveness. And if I do? His hand rested lightly against the doorframe, not crossing, not claiming. Then I will come. I believed him, not because he ruled Manhattan, not because people lowered their voices when he entered. I believed him because, when I had nothing left to offer but fear, he had not asked for payment, loyalty, or surrender. He had answered. He had arrived. And for the first time in my life, being saved did not feel like being owned.